jump. I feel like I'm rambling.
You're overthinking it.
I am.
Overthinking it. You need another shot.
Yeah, perfect. I'm cool with half. We're gonna be we're gonna be slurring the whole podcast. That's strong, huh?
Ooh, coffee.
Lost it.
Those don't make sense.
So we basically wanted to make this podcast just to be able to provide more value for both of our communities. I feel like we're both very aware individuals and we bring a lot of value to the table. So because of that, we wanted to create this podcast because we always talk about how, you know, having a perspective and being aware can like ultimately change your life. You know what I mean? So we wanted to create this podcast. Obviously, has a lot of relationships. I have a lot of relationships that we can bring in and, you know, just be able to give back to both our communities. Because I feel like it's very, it's something that we're both about, you know, being able to kind of give back. So we wanted to make this podcast and bring in super dope guests, you know, have a lot of fun, but more importantly, be able to like impact others in 2022 because we are in a new year now. So we have to start it off. Yeah, Happy New Year. We already took a shot.
I know.
But yeah, we basically wanted to do that. I feel like that's our ultimate end goal, which is going to be able to impact other people and, you know, just be able to give back to our community. So yeah, that's our goal for this podcast.
We're super excited about this. So, because we were gonna individually do this, but we just felt like it would be better if we did it together because we kind of just like feed off each other in a really good way. So
yeah. But anyways, we just want this to be like very raw and just very like conversational, you know, above anything else. You know what I mean? We don't want it to be that formal, even we are in a freaking studio. But we want it to just be raw. We want it to be organic and we want it to be relatable. A lot of the times when you see people on social media because they live a certain way or a certain lifestyle, you can't connect. But a lot of those people are deeper than just, you know,
I feel like
social media.
Little bit more for me because you kind of are on YouTube, so I feel like people can relate a little more to you. But I feel like for me, because I don't really put like myself out there in video or like ever speaking, so I feel like it is really hard to relate to myself because I mean all people really see is a picture of me.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean the whole reason like this kind of came up is because like every time I do have a conversation with people, like they'll always tell me like you should really make like get on YouTube or like just a podcast or something because kind of like you said, like there's more to it.
Yeah.
So like I forgot what I was going with this.
No, I mean
it's like it's just hard to like relate to somebody through a picture because a lot of times Instagram makes a lot of things seem like it's picture perfect and it's not. And even like through like my private account, I get so much good feedback because even like the small things that I do post, like people will be like, I didn't even know you go through this, or like it makes me feel better about myself knowing you do go through this. And it's like at the end of the day, like no matter my status or like the money or whatever, like I'm human.
Yeah.
And like I feel like when people like look up to influencers or like YouTubers, like they just like see them as these like perfect people.
Yeah, they fantasize a picture perfect life.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's like at the end of the day, I am you, you are me. Like,
yeah.
It's just
and I feel like that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to do this together, you know, because I think, she said it correctly, right? Like if you were to just look at Alexis like on social media, like just social media in general, there's a lot of insecurities, you know what I mean? So I feel like you being able to like open up and like talk about what you go through, like it just becomes more relatable more than just like appearances, you know? I think people forget about like the emotional aspect of things and they just see like the superficial portion of it. So I'm excited for you guys to learn more about her and like, really just be able to take something, from what she goes through and she experiences, because even though like how she was saying, like on social media, it might seem a certain way, but at the end of the day, we're all human and we all go through our own individual struggles and our own challenges. And, like me being able to talk to you, I'm like everybody else, I wouldn't know that you go through certain things and, and you be able, I think you're doing such a good service and being able to kind of like talk about it and like be more you and share more about you, because like there's a lot of what's it called, like insecurities, when it comes to like females and like what they go through whenever they see like somebody that looks a certain way or whatever. And I feel like you kind of talking more about what you do and what you go through, like it's like a leveled playing field, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. So I'm excited about that. And
but I also feel like on social media, no matter how you look, or no matter.
Grab the mic.
Okay. I know I was gonna ask you. You can hear me. I don't know. I just feel like there's always comparison on social media, and that's not something anyone's gonna ever really get rid of. Yeah. And I feel like it's not even just on the girls' side; it's on the guys' sides too. Like I feel like for guys, it's more money, or like that's where their insecurities come from.
The provider
exactly
mentality, yeah.
And for females, obviously, it's more about like looks, because a lot of companies promote one look, and a lot of people assume like this is how I need to look, or else I'm not beautiful, I'm not pretty, this is how my body needs to look. That's why so many people get BBLs, and it's not a bad thing, but like I feel like girls are pressured to look a certain way. And I also feel like that does come from males. Like males praise a certain type of look. So I feel like
I agree to an extent, but there's like I feel like it's a specific personality that kind of like makes that a thing. You know what I mean? Because you and I have had this conversation to where like a lot of the times, like, you know, one of the things that I will always get is like, you know, how do you feel about working with models? How do you feel about this and that? Like, you know, people would always come for me because of that. But at the end of the day, like how I told you, like it's not just about a looks thing, you know, it's about like a personality and mindset, and like it's a deeper thing than that, you know. But I also know that for certain guys, like that doesn't even matter. It's just like, you know, if it's like a one time thing, then I mean, I guess people value that, you know what I mean? But I feel like when it comes to like a relationship, like it's bigger than that, you know what I mean? Like if you can't hold a conversation, like I don't care how pretty you look, like it's out the window, you know what I mean?
And I also feel like that does come from your job, because I know a lot of people in the same industry think the same way. But I feel like for other people who aren't in the industry and they don't really understand that, it's like very like
superficial. Yeah, I agree 100%. And also too, like, to be honest, I feel like a lot of people judge based on like their own way of doing things. You know what I mean? Like kind of how we were talking like a little bit earlier about how like I don't know how to say it. So the one that we have for today, it's not necessarily a quote, it's more of a like, how would you call it, like a motto, I guess, right? Like a motto for 2022. No.
I don't think a model is a good word.
Call it like a blueprint. I like that.
A blueprint.
So the blueprint for 2022 is, or at least the one that we wanted to share today is 7 uncomfortable truths we all need to accept in 2022. And again, we're going to give you both perspectives, both mine and hers. So you kind of, you know, you get both sides. One of them is...
Wait, you sent that to me on Instagram?
On IG. One of them is, if you continue to wait until you're ready, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. That's a powerful one. And the reason being is because I think in anything, right? Like even in sports, if you want to get good at playing basketball, you have to practice basketball. You know, if you want to get good at business, you have to do business. You know what I mean? If you want to, you know, for your, like, if you want to be a model, like you have to practice being a model. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people think they need to have all these qualifications or certifications or a degree in terms of like, you know, being able to do something. But at the end of the day, if you just get your foot in the door and actually take action and do it, like that's going to give you more peace of mind, confidence, and experience to be able to go out there and do it at a higher level. You know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of people put it in their mind of what they want, but they are never willing to take the steps to do it. So like, I'm sure you get this a lot. Like, how did you do it? How did you get there? I get that a lot. But at the end of the day, I feel like we could only tell someone so much. But if you're not putting in that work, there's absolutely no way like you 100%. You could get there.
100%.
So I feel like, what did it say? Let me go back to this. Yeah, like if you continue to wait until you're ready, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. Because I feel like this kind of goes with a lot of things in life. Like I was reading something and it just said like, what did it say?
Lost it. This is our first ever episode, guys. It's rough. I promise you we're gonna get better. I think we're better like being guests than hosts, but we'll get better. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like if we were to wait, like to be we're gonna continue to wait because we don't feel like qualified enough to host something, but we're literally just winging it. We're doing it the best that we can, and like, you know, what you see is what you get.
I feel like, okay, so with me, what I've learned, and like I've been reading a lot and like listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and I've been learning like, okay, so for me, you know how I'll constantly say like I want to do YouTube, I want to do YouTube, and I'll constantly put it on my like Instagram, like should I do my YouTube again?
Yeah.
Should I or like give me video ideas and stuff like that. So I was listening to something and it said like if you're always searching for validation from people, like you're never going to do it. And I feel like that's where I am. Like I'm constantly searching for validation from people, and that's why also I don't do it, because I feel like my videos are never good enough, because I'm constantly thinking about like what other people are gonna think of it, or like if this video is gonna be good enough for these people. But it's like I'm constantly waiting to get better at like speaking on camera, or I'm constantly waiting to get better at like just
editing or whatever.
Yeah, anything like that. But I think I'm just such a perfectionist that I want anything I put out, like I want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that's me waiting, and I've been trying to do YouTube for like 3 years.
Yeah. She has like 3 pending episodes. Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna send you this as soon as it's done. You still haven't sent it to me.
Exactly. So I feel like that's very true. Like the more you wait, it's just you're gonna wait forever.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's the bottom line. You're gonna end up waiting for years. You know what I mean? I feel like imagine where she'd be if she had already been posting for like 3 years. You know?
I think about that all the time. Like at the end of each year, I think about like, damn, what if I really did like do it? Yeah. Like I could be in a way different position than I am. Yeah. And like I don't know, I just feel like it's 2022. I'm at the point. You gotta let that shit go. I need to just do it. Yeah. Like I need to just run with it.
Just do it. Yeah.
And like I think what I need to get over is the perfectionist, because obviously I'm not going to be perfect at anything I start, and I'm always going to progress over time. Yeah. So even if I think it's perfect, in like a year, I'm going to look back and be like, that was not good at all.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the reality of things, you know what I mean? Like in anything that you do, like at first it's not going to be the best, but eventually, like if you're consistent with it, you're going to be able to get to a place where you feel confident enough to be like, okay, like now I'm happy where I'm at. You know, obviously you're going to continue to keep getting better, but at least you started, you know. Starting is like the hardest part. Once
that's what I say about everything. Yeah. Like it's starting is the hardest part.
Yeah. It is, to be honest. But I mean, even this, like, so you guys don't know this because you guys didn't see this, but we literally had the people who were helping us here like set up the studio and like record. Like we had them leave because we were so nervous in terms of like being able how we're gonna flow, like how are we gonna start it off, but like we're doing it, you know what I mean? We're gonna feel like nervous as hell once they come back, but that's another story. Yeah. The next one is
what happened yesterday may not be your responsibility, but how you behave today is. Because I mean, a lot of the things that we go through, I don't think necessarily it's something we can control. And I feel like a lot of situations people take it and they feel like because someone else is this way, like I need to behave this certain way, or like I'm acting this way because of a situation that's happened to me
in the past.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, like we all have a responsibility of our own self and the way we behave and the way we think, and no matter the way other people are, like I feel like that should never change us.
100%.
And everything, like I feel like a lot of people feel sorry for themselves, and that's where it really like
you're going in.
I feel like that's kind of where like a lot of ugly people come from, like because they want to put that blame on other people. Like I'm this way because I was treated this way, or I am the way I am because I grew up in this. But it's like at the end of the day, no matter the situation, like I know people who have been through like terrible things and are still a good person till this day because they choose to be a good person. Like the way you behave and the way you think and the way you treat people, at the end of the day, is on you.
100%.
And no matter what anyone does around you, like
I think it goes back to that Kevin Hart video that we sent each other.
Which one?
The one where it says like if like for example, like let's say something happens, I forget exactly how it went, but it was basically saying like you'll be stuck in that time period forever, you know, like in that pain or in that situation or in that breakup or whatever they might be. Like you have to realize sometimes that you're bigger than just a moment you know. And a lot of times we get caught up in that specific moment to where we live out the rest of our life thinking that that's who we are, when in reality, like, every single, yeah, exactly, and every single day, like, you're evolving. Like, you know, you're not meant to be the same person like even a couple seconds ago, you know what I mean? Like, every single day you're learning something, every single day you should be evolving. And even to another, like, even adding to that, you know, a lot of times we've had this conversation before where a lot of the times, like, people attack you for, you know, evolving, or, you know, yeah, they say like, oh, you've changed or whatever, you know, when in the reality, like, you should, you know what I mean? Like,
nobody should want to be who they were yesterday or
never.
last year. Like, at the end of the day, it's always you versus you.
100%.
You should always be challenging yourself to be better.
Yeah.
Every second, every minute, every hour, every day.
Yeah, and the only people that should, like, the only people that are ever going to attack you when it comes to that is, like, people who are not evolving and are not changing, you know what I mean?
Because they feel like they're stuck.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever somebody feels stuck, like, that's when they become the most toxic, you know what I mean? Because it's not, there's no growth, there's no, like, awareness being, like, you know, no mind expansion, like, none of that, you know? So that's where the toxic people come in. I was literally having this conversation yesterday on my live where people were saying that, like, I mean, for us culturally, you know, me being growing up in, like, a Hispanic household, like, conversations that we have about other people are, like, a common thing, you know? Why? Because that's the only form of communication that we know. You know, we can't communicate in terms of, like, oh, what business are we launching or what thing are we doing? It's always about, like, what so-and-so did and what so-and-so that. So you live your life thinking that everything that you do, like, you're being criticized on it, you know? And that's the reason why a lot of people don't go to the gym, because they think if I'm at the gym, people are looking at me, they know that I'm doing it wrong or this and that, you know? But at the end of the day, you have to be okay with, like, letting go of, like, that mentality, you know? Like, not everybody's talking about you, like, you know?
I think a lot of things I do, or I'm getting better now, but, like, before, a lot of things I did was based off that mentality. And that's why I haven't done a lot of things, because I feel like that mentality does come from high school, because like, I was judged for how I looked, basically. Like, no one knew me, or the people that talked about me, like, they didn't know me, they just talked about me. And so I feel like because of that, it's kind of like high school trauma, I guess you could say. So, like, everything that I did coming out of high school, it was always like, I don't want to do this because I don't want to be looked at this way. Or, like, I got social anxiety because of that, because I could walk inside of a room and be like, everyone's talking about me. Like, that was my mentality. Like,
the high school mentality.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one thing that I want to touch on, you know, because I feel like a lot of the times, like, from the outside looking in, like, girls would probably think you have, like, a picture perfect life, you know. You still get, like, negative feedback from people, you know what I mean? It's not just, like, because you're good looking, like, all your problems go away, you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole different ball game, you know?
Yeah, no. Okay, so for me, I just feel like, honestly, it hurts me when girls compare themselves to me, because I just feel like kind of what you said, like, no matter how pretty you are, no matter what body you have, like, people are always gonna come after you. Even I, till this day, get so much hate, and more of the hate comes from guys. So it's like, I've never, besides my boobs, have gotten something done to my body, and just because I do have the body I do, guys come at me saying, like, you wouldn't be pretty if you didn't get surgery on your body. You wouldn't be pretty if it wasn't for your body. Like, so I just feel like a lot of girls will compare, but I don't necessarily think beauty is how you look on the outside. And I feel like our generation assumes that
because of
like,
social media.
Yeah. Like, but people don't, like, kind of what you said, like, I could be around a million beautiful people on the outside, but the moment I see the way you think or stuff like that, you just become ugly. So I feel like beauty is not on the outside. Beauty is definitely on the inside, and the way people think, the way their hearts are. Like, a lot of people have ugly hearts out here, and it's like,
it's wild.
Yeah, like, you could be the prettiest person, and the way you think or the way you treat people can make you so ugly. Yeah. So I feel like the moment I stopped comparing myself to other people and, like, searching to be as pretty as this person, or, like, why don't I look this way, or, like, stuff like that, is truly when I found, like, peace. Because
that's powerful.
Like, I feel like, for me, like, I feel like the prettiest part about myself is my heart. Because I know, like, the way I treat people, and, like, I'm so giving. Like, I would never say like the prettiest part about me is how I look. Like the prettiest part about me and my favorite part about me is my heart.
Mic drop. I wish I had like a little buzzer to be like,
we're supposed to get
we gotta get one of these where that has already like the custom little like or whatever, you know what I mean? Like a mic drop or something, you know what I mean? But
so I would definitely say like that's advice I would give to people who look up to me or like have ever compared themselves to me. Like never, don't compare yourself to me or to anyone on social media, because at the end of the day, like I said, you could only see a picture of me, and I could be like the ugliest person inside, and like you're looking up to me.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that I could add on to as a guy, like obviously working with like other models. Like a lot of the times, like girls, they like, again, like you said, they see the superficial aspect of it and they see a picture and they're like, oh, like, you know, she's pretty or whatever. But sometimes you work with people and it's not what you expect, you know what I mean? And that's the reality of things, you know, when it comes to like, it's like a guy can be the most attractive guy, but if he has like a shitty mindset or like he belittles you or like, you know,
so ugly.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So those are factors that a lot of times like people don't consider when it comes to like social media. Like they see one side, which is like just the aspect of like the looks, but they don't consider like everything else that comes along with it, you know what I mean?
And I'm sure like a lot of people can relate to that, because I know like when people will look up to influencers or these people, and then the moment they meet them, they're just these ugly people.
Yeah.
And after that, you stop looking up to them.
Yeah.
You stop thinking like this is the most beautiful person because of how they are
On social media.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the quote that says like never meet your idols?
No.
You never heard that?
No.
So it's basically that, because sometimes like you see people a certain way and then once you meet them, they're like, because that changes your perspective on how they are, you know what I mean? And it can be either good or bad, but it's the reality of things, you know what I mean? Like it's like, for example, like I feel like a lot of the times where, you know, where people like hit me up and saying like, oh, I look up to you and this and that, like I think what they see is a reflection of who they already are, but they just haven't yet like worked on that enough to see it in their own life.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me, because like I can follow the guy that I think might be the guy that I want to be like, and then see if I was to meet him, I'll see certain things or patterns or actions that person does that I do not like, or I'll be like disappointed, you know? But if you really see life in terms of like what good can I get from somebody, and just run with that, you know? Because a lot of times like what you like in somebody else is something that's already inside of you, you know? And
because you see that vision for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing though too, like people think that because they see it in somebody else, like that they can have that for themselves, when in reality whatever you see in somebody else is already like inside you. It's a reflection of you. Like however you think or however you approach certain things is a reflection of you, of who you are on the inside. Like I heard a really good quote the other day that said, what you like in me is already in you, and what you hate in me is missing in you. I was like, damn, you know what I mean? A little mic drop. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, which is true.
Very true.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Can you repeat it? I heard it, but like I need to hear it.
It's whatever you like in me is already in you, and what you hate in me is missing in you.
Okay. I do like that, because I feel like a lot of hate comes from insecurity. And I feel like, so say like someone who wants to be like me, I guess, or like even okay, so the modeling industry is probably one of the fishiest industries there is out there, but I feel like a lot of hate between models comes from like them not being able to be where I am, or like I've never hated on someone, but me not being able to be where someone else is. But I feel like that's a really bad trait, because when you're constantly fishing to be or like trying to be in competition with someone else, you're never going to grow. And you're never like you're trying to chase after someone else's dreams, and those dreams probably are not always for you.
Yeah,
everyone has like their own path, and I like strongly believe like no matter how much I want something, if that's not for me and if that's not what God wants for me, I'm never going to get it. So there's no reason I should try chasing after someone else's dream or what they're going for or the jobs they have, because if it's not for me, it's not for me.
100%.
And there's nothing I could do about it. So there's no reason I should have hate in my heart because I'm not there. Or I haven't, like, a lot of people want to be there and haven't even put in the work.
Yeah.
Like,
or it's not their timing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I'm also a strong believer in, like, if you're not there, it's because you're not ready. You're not mentally ready. And sometimes, like, I have to sit back and think to myself, like, because sometimes I do have moments like, why am I not where I want to be yet? But then I also sit back and think, like, I'm not mentally ready. Like, I know what comes with it, and I'm not mentally ready.
The pressure.
Yeah.
I feel like that's another thing that a lot of times people don't consider. Like, at different levels, there's a different pressure. And if you can't handle the pressure that you have now, like, what makes you think that
you could be there?
You could be there.
Yeah. And I feel like if you're in a position where you're hating, you are not ready to be there.
Because you haven't yet evolved as a person enough to realize that, like, you hating on somebody else is not gonna make your life better, you know. And I think a lot of times people think that if they try to stop somebody else's, like, purpose or their own, like, growth, that in return they're gonna grow and get that. But that's not the case, you know. You have to look internally. I feel like a lot of the reason why people struggle when it comes to, like, you know, depression and, like, all that stuff is because they've never taken the time to look internal. They've never taken the time to be comfortable being alone in their own thoughts and stuff like that. Everybody avoids it. But if you focus and you take the time to, like, learn about yourself and, you know, like, be comfortable being alone, like, that, you know, changes everything.
I think this past year was that year for me. Like, because I truthfully have never taken the time to be by myself, learn myself, learn, like, the way I think. Like, I've never taken the time to read books, listen to podcasts, like, try to grow my mind. Like, I feel like I was always stuck in, like, the same mindset, and I started realizing how much I was hating on other people. And, like, when I started realizing, like when people would post, like, something that like something good that happened to them, like, there was hate in my heart. And it was like, that's how, when I had to, like, reevaluate, like, the way I think and the way I was moving and stuff like that, because, like, that's not okay. And I know deep down, like, that wasn't me. So that's when I was like, okay, this is my time. Like, I need to take that time to learn myself, grow, work on where I want to be, like. And that's when I started realizing, like, honestly, it's all internal. Like, it's crazy when you don't sit back and, like, learn yourself and grow. There's so much hate that could, like, come out of it.
Yeah. This is us dropping all the trash from 2021. They came to pick it up. But yeah, I mean, I agree. And sometimes, like, those feelings are normal too. You know what I mean? Just don't feed onto them. Like, you feeling some sort of, like, you know, jealousy or, like, hating or stuff like that, they're not a bad thing unless you, like, really use that energy to try and, like, bash somebody or hurt somebody. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of the times, like, like, we're all human, right? Like, we all go through certain emotions, and we all might go through, like, a certain situation where we feel, like, unhappy, where, like you said, you know, where we're at or how far we're not, you know, where we're not there yet. But at the end of the day, like, you should realize that emotion is, like, a sense of, like, your purpose telling you, like, you need to do more. You're not doing your shit. You got to reevaluate, like, who you are. You got to reevaluate your actions, your habits. Like, all that plays a huge role in terms of, like, whether how fast you want to get there and how far you get, you know. And it's like taking an L, right? A lot of times people, when they take an L, they like think that their life is over, but in reality that was meant to teach you something to not to do, you know. Like, it's, everything has a purpose, and if you choose to see it, like, as in, like, a way for you to grow and continue to evolve, like, you'll eventually get there faster than if you just see things on the negative side.
I think it's all about perspective.
100%. And that's the whole reason. Well, I don't know where our logo went, but but anyways, like, that's the whole reason why we named this podcast Social Perspective, because everything in life is about perspective, you know.
The way you choose to see things is all about perspective. And you can see it in a negative way or a positive way, and make a negative thing a positive.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even that's a whole other reason why we decided to do it together, right? Because you get both perspectives from both a guy and a girl. You know, a lot of podcasts out there, I feel like it's either the boys, you know, just, you know, with the boys, and the girls, like, with the girls, you know, there's really isn't somebody that can give you both sides of, like, the story, you know what I mean? And when it comes to like, again, perspective as to like how a girl can see it or how a guy can see it. And you know, that's one thing that we really want to shine light on, and you know, just be able to like, you know, maybe change the way that you think now, and help you grow, and you know, just think bigger.
Yeah. But kind of going back to what you had asked, or what was the quote again?
It was
the beginning of no, the one you said.
What you see in me is already inside of you, and what you hate in me is missing in you.
Okay, so like I feel like the first part of it, I feel like that's true, because obviously, like, if you see an idea or if you see someone doing something and you're like, wow, I like that, like, I want to do it. So I feel like a lot of creativity, or not create, that wouldn't be the right word, like what am I trying to say? Like, a lot of ideas come from watching certain people, listening to certain people, seeing certain things. Like, so I do agree with that. Like, I feel like when you see it in someone else, it gives you like that spark, or like that determination. Like, if they could do it, I could do it.
100%.
Like, I want to be like this person, or I want to at least be on the same level as this person. And that's kind of where like competition comes from too. Like, I want to be as good as this person, or I want to be better than this person, in no hateful way. Yeah,
I think competition is healthy. Again, as long as you don't like have ill intention towards somebody. Exactly. You know what I mean? I think competition brings out the best in you, like in anything. Like, you can be like a lazy person and then get that competitive feeling, and that'll like push you to like places that you've never been. You know what I mean? And the reason why I say that, because like I feel like for me, I go really hard. Like, I'm an all-in person, you know? So when I'm doing something, I'm gonna go all in, or like I'm just not gonna do it at all. But when it's like my lazy time or like my chill time, like I'm chill. Yeah, you know what I mean? Me. Yeah. So I feel like don't ever feel like because you feel lazy that not everybody else feels that way. You know, a lot of times people just discipline themselves, or they like force themselves to do certain things. And I think force is such a healthy thing. You know, a lot of times people think that it has to come natural when it comes to like, whether it's like working out or like being on social media or whatever. Like, it's you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable at the end of the day, and you have to force yourself. It's never going to come out of like it's never going to come out of like motivation. Yeah. A lot of times people confuse motivation with like the willingness to do things, but if they realize that it's literally forcing yourself to do things, that's where that motivation comes in. Because once you force yourself, you build such a habit that you just do it repeatedly and consistently. You know.
And I was listening to something or a podcast, and this guy was basically saying that, like, you don't wake up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning wanting to wake up. Like, you literally have to tell yourself you need to get up. Like, it's a force every morning, and it determines how bad you want it. Like,
100%.
Nobody wakes up, like, of course you have a goal, you have a dream, and you have that drive, but to get where you want to be, like, there's a lot of things you're gonna have to go through that you don't want to go through,
or that you don't anticipate.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of people give up, because they don't want to do it. Yeah. Or it's too hard, or
they think it's going to be perfect.
Exactly.
You know, I feel like a lot of times people start, like, for example, like people that start a business, they think, oh, they're just going to start a business and then they're going to make a bunch of money and they're going to change their life. And that's not the reality of it. You know what I mean? There's always going to be ups and downs, like, you know, in anything, you know, like I've had my moments and I've shared this before, like where I was at my best and then all of a sudden something happens and it's like, damn, you know, and now I feel like shit, because I'm like what's going on, what's happening, like maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not that, but all that pressure just allows you and like shows you who you really are on the inside. You know what I mean? And again, like those uncomfortable situations are what makes you, like that is your purpose. Like going through those moments, you go through them for a reason, you know, like that's what ultimately shapes you in becoming that highlight version that you see on somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, but people don't share. It's like in fitness, right? A lot of times people don't share like the meals that they're eating or the cardio that they hate doing. Like they just show like the physique or the body or whatever, but you don't realize there was hours put behind that. You know, there was like the meal prepping, the cardio, like the days that you don't want to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, like all those things that people don't show. Like that's the real purpose, because that's what ultimately takes you to that highlight version of yourself that you want to see on social media.
Very true. Very true.
All right, so this next one, is, it's like a screenshot. You have it? It's a narcissist will tear you down and rebuilds you in a way that is easier to control. Protect your boundaries at all costs.
At all costs. What do you feel about this?
I think it's true. You know what I mean? I feel like, even whether it's in a relationship or whether it's just like on a friendship level, there's certain people that have a higher level of awareness to where they know that if they do a certain thing or they tell you a certain thing, that it's gonna break you down to where you start kind of doubting yourself and you start feeling insecure about yourself, to the point where eventually they'll be able to like manipulate you better. You know what I mean? And I feel like obviously that's super toxic, and like you should become aware of that. Like when if it's in a relationship, if somebody is trying to break you down where they're literally like supposed to be your partner, like there's something wrong there, you know? And you have to be able to realize that, and realize that it has nothing to do with you and it has everything to do with that person. And as bad as it sounds, like that person could be a narcissist and try to control you. You know what I mean?
And what's sad is like a lot of that comes from jealousy. And I feel like in relationships, a lot of the times there's jealousy, especially like if one person is doing way better than that person. Especially, I feel like a lot of problems in general in a relationship come from money. And so I feel like when somebody, I feel like it comes from more of a guy, because kind of like what I was saying earlier, guys' insecurities come from money. So I feel like
that provider,
it's like taken.
What is it called? Yeah, like a provider syndrome, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I feel like in that way, or honestly, it could go both ways, because guys that have money feel like they can control a female. And that's when they become very, very controlling. And like they feel like no matter what I tell you, I pay your bills, I pay for this, pay for that. Like, but then in another way of the guy or the female making more money, a guy will knock you down because of that, tell you like what you're doing isn't good enough, or like make you feel like you're less of what you are, so you don't keep driving, or don't.
So that they basically have like a little like self-comfort, I guess, if you want. You know what I mean?
Like they don't want that drive anymore. They don't have that passion anymore for it, because they have the person that they love most, the person that should be like giving them the most.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, so basically, because I feel like we with society, we have like gender roles, right?
Yeah.
And the guy has to be the provider, or the one who makes more, the breadwinner, and the girl has to be whatever expectations you grew up with, right? So basically, what she's saying is like, when a guy feel like he's not in the role where he needs to be, he'll start feeling insecure, to where like he has to figure out a way to shift that.
Exactly.
And obviously, making money is like a skill set, right? And when the guy doesn't have that skill set to be able to say like, oh, I can easily like make more than her, then he's gonna try and tear you down. If he's a bad person, obviously, right? He's gonna try and tear you down so that he feels somewhat like up to par with you,
level.
You know? Yeah, up to your level. Yeah. And I feel like that's like mental warfare, you know what I mean? Like that's their only way of kind of coping with that, you know, which is pretty fucking toxic, you know what I mean? Relationships are emotional, and a lot of times a person that has the ability to make X amount of money is able to remove a certain aspect of an emotion. You know what I mean? And I say this from like my personal experience. I feel like the bigger that I get, the less emotional I become, in terms of like, yeah, because again, it goes back to like being able to force yourself to do things that you don't want to do. And that ultimately makes you a less of an emotional person in certain situations, right? But I think because of that, like, it can create confusion or issues to where a girl can try and tell you like, oh, you'd rather do this than do that, or you'd rather do that than spend time with me, or you'd rather, you know, like be working. That's like the narcissist aspect of the other side of things, I guess, if you will. You know what I mean? They try to control you, and then through an emotion that might not even be the case. You know what I mean? You're just trying to be better for your family or your partner or your ultimate end goals as a couple or in a relationship.
But I also do feel like there are people who do that. Like, they're so focused on their job and their money, and it does cause issues because I feel like okay, so before you even get into a relationship, you should already know kind of where you are in your job or like your goals for yourself and stuff like that. So I feel like before you get into a relationship, especially like now, I feel like you should plan those kind of like
conversations.
Yeah, like make sure they are okay with it, but also like I feel like when you are really invested in someone, you do make that time. No matter how much you work, like you will always make
you
that
dedicate,
time for
100%.
You want to be with. And I feel like it shouldn't ever get to the point where a girl has to make you feel bad for not spending time with her or not going on dates with her or like spending too much time at your job, because I do feel like you could work enough but still spend that time with that person that you want to be with.
But what if it goes to the point to where like even if you do make those moments, it's still not enough?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what ultimately where I was trying to get to. You know what I mean? Because I think, I mean, at least for me, from personal experience, like I'll always try to be the best that I can in anything that I do, whether it's like with my friends, with my family, with myself, with my physique, whatever, right? Like I have certain expectations as to how I want to be like, right? But when that's not enough, like that's the hard part. Every head is like their own world, you know what I mean? Like how I see life could be completely different from how you see it, you know? Yeah. And it's a reality. Like as much as, for example, you can live a life to where you're like, if I was like, for example, let's say you've done something, and if you're like, man, if only Jose can just see this or do this, like he would change like his whole life around, right? And you see that because you've already experienced that. But since I've never experienced it, for me, that's not even in the picture. Yeah. You know, it's like my reality is like, it's like my own world, you know? And going back to like my own upbringing, right? When I was working at, you know, a Little Caesars and being a manager there, like I thought that was like the end of it, right? Being a manager at like a fast food restaurant, like that's the top, right? That's all you know. Like that's gonna be your life, right? But once I started meeting more people and like realizing people in different careers have like different levels of awareness, like that ultimately like poured onto me, and now I see the world like as an endless possibility. Like I can be and I can achieve whatever I want, and so can anybody else. But you have to be able to kind of break that little bubble first, and then you'll be exposed to like the reality of life, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy like how much of an impact the people like around you could have. It's crazy.
Yeah, you gotta make sure that you put the right people, not just people that you can have fun with, but people that can ultimately push you and help you grow, you know, and people that can hold you accountable. And a lot of times, like, we just want friends that we can have fun with, but the reality is you gotta have people that can hold you accountable and like tell you how things really are.
And it's crazy because like you do want that when you're younger, but then when you start growing and you start meeting people like that do challenge you, that teach you like different things, you start looking at those people like, I don't even want to hang out with you. Like, because
there's a certain pressure.
Yeah, like you're cool to be with, but like, I don't know, I guess that comes from like growing up, evolving, like learning who you are and stuff like that. Like you start going away from those type of things, 100%. Those type of people, that type of mindset and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of times, like, I think that a lot of times, like us as humans, we want shit to be easy, you know? And whenever people make it hard for us, or there's a certain pressure or expectation, like, it's like, we don't want that, you know? But the reality of things is that those situations are where ultimately are going to make you the best version of you. And if somebody's putting pressure on you, it's because they see your potential that maybe you might not even see, that they know could happen, and you just are choosing not to put in the work or do certain things that can ultimately get you towards a better life. Especially if you complain about your life and you have a friend that's pressuring you and telling you things, like, you have to listen to that person, because your other friends who are just there for fun, like, they're going to be okay with you being in the same place 10, 15, 20 years from now, right? And you got to have friends that can push you to ultimately become a better version of yourself, that in the long run, it's going to benefit you in a happiness level, not in terms of just like life or whatever, you know?
And I feel like there's some people who are so stuck on having such a big friend group. But in the reality of it all, like, all you need is like one real friend to really help you, like motivate you, push you. Like, I don't know, I feel like this past year for like 2021 was that year where I was tested a lot. I was like, I've done a lot of things I was very uncomfortable with. And honestly, like if we tried doing this podcast last year, I would not be able to do it. I would not be able to sit here and talk. Like, that's how, like, I couldn't be on camera. I couldn't, like, there's certain things I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't go through the things I went through in 2020.
But everything happens for a reason, you know, and everything has its own timing, and yeah, it's crazy. God's timing is perfect for sure, you know.
And it's crazy because, like, when you actually, like, look at certain things and the way they happen and the people that come into your life at this certain time, it's like you start to realize, like, it's so true. Like, God's timing is literally the perfect timing.
Yeah. And honestly, like, if I look at everything, like, I wouldn't have expected, like, for you to be one of the people that was there for me the most. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because prior to that, we wouldn't really, like, talk like that.
It was,
you know,
literally just, like, photo shoots.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm just grateful, and I wanted to thank you publicly. But yeah, I love this one. If you learn to read books, you can be smart. If you learn to read yourself, you can be anything.
So kind of what we were talking
about. Yeah, I mean, it's just really adding on to, like, what we were saying earlier. Like, the more you're aware, the more possibilities that you can see for yourself at the end of the day. This says you have to stop prioritizing being loved by others over the love you have for yourself. And again, kind of goes back to what we were saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that kind of goes back to, like, stopping you from doing the things you want to do. Because I feel like we search for a lot of validation in other people and what they're going to say, especially loved ones. I feel like a lot of the times, like, you care most about what the closest people to you think, but sometimes the people that are closest to you don't even want the best for you. Yeah. So
I mean, for me, it's a different perspective. That is 100% accurate too. But for me, I think when I was trying to change my life, it was more of like they couldn't see it for themselves, so they thought I was crazy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And ultimately, I think there's this quote that I heard from Lisa Nichols, I believe she's like a motivational speaker, that for me during that time was like one of the most impactful things that she had ever said. She said something about, like, sometimes, like, when you're trying to achieve something, you want other people to support you, and you want to take certain people that you love with you. But the reality of things is that door was only really meant to fit you. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to, like, let go and, like, understand that eventually they'll understand, you know. And when you're able to think long term, then you're gonna be like, okay, right now it might not make sense to the people that I'm trying to express this to or tell this to, but I know that when I'm there, they'll be like, oh shit, like, you know, he wasn't crazy.
I feel like when it comes to stuff like that, me and you kind of think the same. And, like, I feel like for both of us, when we think more money, we think more help for our family.
100%.
Like, the more
we can give back.
Yeah, exactly. Or, like, I want to be here so I can help my family, or I want to do this so I could get this for my family, so I could buy this for my family, or, like, certain things like that.
To be able to again, you know, give back. Like, do you know who Conor McGregor is? Yeah. So Conor said this one thing on, like, an interview that he was doing. Says that he would always visualize what it would feel like to, like, be able to give to his family, like the people that were there for him and all that, you know. So, like, for example, like, sometimes you may visualize, like, you know, I know you did a nice thing for your mom recently, you know, so, like, I'm sure you visualize that one day and you'll be like, you know, I got to work hard because one day I'll be able to do this, and you were able to do that, you know. So I think the more that for, again, like how she was saying, like, for people like her and I, the more we do, the more we achieve, the more we know we're able to contribute and give back to others, you know. Very true. Yeah. But yeah. Whatever guests we bring on, and obviously us too as well, is like to be able to kind of, like, give, like, a moment of appreciation when it comes to, like, that specific person. Because again, we all go through things, we all have, like, our own challenges, whether it's at different levels, right? It could be financial, it can be emotional, it can be whatever. I think if we just take the moment to kind of appreciate and, you know, be able to show people what we see in them, I think eventually that will, like, ultimately become, like, a habit to where now they take that and be able to give that and pour onto other people eventually, and just kind of fill people's cup. You know, I think that'll be a good thing. You know what I mean? So I'll get started. I think one of the things that I appreciate a lot about Alexis is that, again, if you see just like on social media, you think she's just a model. It's just, again, just superficial stuff, right? But how she was saying, like, she has such a big heart to where it's like she'll take the time to like encourage you and talk to you and give you her perspective. And it's not like a short one either. You know what I mean? It's like she's willing to help out and give, and she is a very giving and loving person. And a lot of times people don't see that just because, again, it's just like a superficial thing on social media, right? But you have one of the biggest hearts that in somebody that I've ever met. You've been nothing towards supportive towards me. Like, I appreciate you, and I genuinely, like, I get happy when you do things that make you happy. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to say that I'm grateful for you and I appreciate you.
And honestly, I could say the same back. I feel like, well, I mean, I'm not like really, I haven't really gone through like a super like hard time where I had to like really come to you, but I feel like no matter what it is, like, you've always been like extremely helpful, whether it's like helping me get like information on something, or just literally having someone to talk to in the middle of the night, or like anything. Like, I feel like you're just always there. And like, people, I feel like the whole situation you just went through on social media, like, people were really bashing you, and it hurts like me as a friend knowing that, because like, you're like the complete opposite. Like, people don't see like you're such a good person, like, you have such a good heart, like, you're the same, you're so giving, like, and even as a friend, like, and any friend that you have, I'm sure, can say this, like, you're just such a good person to have in their life. Like, as a friend, as someone to like kind of look what we were talking about, you need that friend that's gonna push you, and you are that person. And like, you're very good at what's that word? You're very good at like reassuring. Like, you're really good at reassuring someone, like, you're doing good, I'm proud of you, or like, I see so much more for you. Like, kind of what you told me, like, I never even thought about this until you told me this. You said like, you're barely scratching the surface of your potential. And ever since then, like, my mind, like you're right, like, I am, because like, before that, I used to think like, am I doing enough? Or like, so like, the reassurance that comes from you is like always like such a good feeling. Like, every time I'm with you, I learn something, or like like, I get reassured of like, you're doing good, because sometimes like, people need to hear that. Like, like, sometimes like, we go through our day-to-day life, like, am I doing enough? Like, because sometimes we get so stuck in our own head, like, it's like, am I doing enough? So when someone tells you like from the outside, or even just a friend, like, hey, like, keep going, like, you're doing good, or like, you're doing an amazing at this, or like, just the reassurance, like, I feel like everybody needs, and you are that person, like, that always reassures me. So thank you.
Nah, I think it has to be like how you said, right? Like, everybody goes through their own situations, right? Like, whenever I'm around my friends, like, I kind of forget about like everything, you know, and then once I'm alone, I'm like, fuck, you know, like, everything just hits you. So that reality is like the part that I think about a lot when it comes to like trying to appreciate somebody, you know what I mean? Because when that reality kicks in, you have to at least have a small voice in your head that tells you like, you're doing good, it's okay, like, it's normal, like, you know. So because I've been in situations where, because of my upbringing, like, I've been alone so much, like, in my mind, it might not have been physically, but mentally. And a lot of times when people are alone mentally, they can't win that battle, you know, because again, it's your reality, you know what I mean? It's, you feel like that's the end all be all, when sometimes it might not even be the case, you know.
The thing I've kind of like been learning over this past month is how like, it's so crazy how much control your mind has over you.
Yeah,
like,
it's insane.
The mind is such a powerful thing. Like, something I learned is like, so when you say things out loud, like, I'm going to be this, or I'm going to do this, like, that has so much power within itself. But the moment you say something negative, it has 4 to 7 times more
crazy.
Power or over like a positive thing.
That's crazy. I didn't know that statistic. That's crazy.
Yeah, so like, it's just crazy, like, how much power your mind has over the way you do things, over everything. Like, if you truly just believe and you say it every single day, you wake up every day like, this is who I am, this is who I'm going to be, like, you're going to be that person. But the more negative you feed yourself, like, you're gonna constantly believe that. And that's what, like, I feel like a lot of people lose hope because they're in their own head.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the times, it's not even about the people around them or, like, the things they do. It's them feeding themselves that own negative thing. Like, I can't be this. I can't. Or kind of what we were saying earlier, like, you walk in the room and think all these people are talking about you. So you're not going to be that person or do a certain thing because that's just
in your head. Yeah. And that gave me chills right now when you were saying it, because lately I've been feeling like a lot of the reason why I got to where I'm at was because of affirmations and, like, visualization, and I let go of that a lot. So right now I'm in this, like, phase where, like, I'm trying to get myself out of, like, that non-believing in me phase, I guess. Like, I'm starting to see things as, like, it might never happen for me, and it like, it kills me because I know that's not who I am, you know. Like, I've always been, like, a visionary. I always think ahead, like, I'm always, like, thinking long term and stuff like that. But lately, like, I've been feeling like I've been so stuck in my head to where I can't visualize it anymore for me, you know. I've been losing that,
and I feel like that's kind of a bad thing. Like, I'm also like that. Like, I'm constantly thinking of what's next, what's in the future for me. And I feel like what we fail to do is live in the moment. Like, instead of, like, I feel like we're gonna lose that drive, and we're gonna lose that, like,
hunger. That hunger.
Yeah, that hunger to keep going when we start thinking, like, it's not happening for me, so it's never going to happen for me. Instead of, like, like I said, it's all in your head again. Like, every day you wake up, like, today I'm gonna do this to get closer to my dreams.
One step.
Yeah, like,
I love that.
So instead,
that was powerful.
I feel like instead of people like us who think, like, what's next for us, or, like, constantly thinking of the future instead of living in the present, like, we lose that hope, or we start thinking those negative thoughts because we see the people we look up to, like, they're there. Why am I not there? What am I doing that I can't be there now? But then it goes back to timing is everything.
Yeah.
And they put in work that you haven't. So instead of thinking, like, of course it's good to, like, have a goal and have a destination, but, like, I feel like we need to live in that moment to, like, just take it one day at a time.
Appreciate,
because it's literally taking it one day
at a time.
Without today, we can't be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, guys, so this is our first one. Obviously, we were a little bit all over the place, but again, like in anything, you have to be willing to take the action steps to eventually get better, like in anything. So we wanted to jump on, figure out as we went, and yeah, I mean, I think it went well. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. But anyways, if you guys can, you know, show some love, subscribe to the podcast. We will be opening up a YouTube channel. Obviously, probably if you're watching this, the channel's already on YouTube. But yeah, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Instagram. Obviously, subscribe to YouTube. We'll be putting the links all in the description and all the information on the screen. Follow Alexis, follow myself, and you want to say something? How did you feel this went?
I feel like it went really well, actually.
Yeah.
I did. I feel like we always feed really good off each other.
Yeah.
So it was kind of everywhere right now, but we're gonna.
We're gonna dial it down.
This is gonna get better, definitely.
Facts.
So this is just, we wanted this to be super raw. So.
Yeah, 100%. At the end of the day, this is who we are. You know what I mean? And this is how we have our conversation. So.
Exactly.
So stay tuned. We will be bringing on super cool guests that you guys can learn from as well, and we think that can provide you guys with value. So we'll see you guys in the next one.